Hey guys, welcome to Did You Get That on Film? On this podcast, we deep dive into horror movies, and so it is full of explicit content as well as spoilers. Please be advised. Now, let's get to the show.
Oh man, this is Did You Get That on Film, the podcast where we talk about characters in terrible situations that we would never find ourselves in. I am DP, your host, and as always with my girl, someone who would never turn down chicken fresh out the grease, but would completely pass up a bitch on the street. My girl, Ruth, what's up?
Hello, everyone. I promise I am not as cruel as he is making me out to be, but we don't pick up hitchhikers in this household.
But we will pick up a two-piece.
We sure will. With a side of gas, of course. Absolutely.
Oh my God. All right, we gotta tell them because what movie are we doing? What movie are we doing?
So today, this is a special episode because we are doing Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. So this is a special episode because House of a Thousand Corpses, by the time you guys are hearing this podcast, it will be the 20th anniversary. So that's a big deal.
So this is the Trailer Park Multiverse. This is the origins.
The Trailer Park
origin story.
Multiverse origin story. Yes.
Story.
And so I'm not sure where, our listeners are, but I know that in most theaters, I know that they're doing it at the Regal where I am.
They're doing it at AMC and they're also doing it at Cinemarks.
Okay, yeah. It's a big deal. So House of a Thousand Corpses is going to be in theaters. So if you're listening to this, check out your local theater and see if they're showing it. It would definitely be, a huge experience to see it in theaters for the 20th anniversary. It is also a big deal because Sid Haig, one of our favorite characters, Captain Spaulding, actually did pass away. So it'll be like a little memoriam for him. So that's special too.
Yeah. So definitely, if you have the time, go check it out in theaters. Something like going to the movies. It's always a fun little treat.
Oh, of course. Okay. Here we go. House of a Thousand Corpses. So, this is written, directed, and co-scored by Rob Zombie. And it's his directorial debut. It was released in 2003.
20 years. The movie that started it all introduced us to the Trailer Park Multiverse of Rob Zombie films.
Yes. And introduced us to Sherry Moon Zombie in her acting debut. This is the first movie in the Firefly family trilogy. So it's House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil Rejects, and Three from Hell, which was shot like a lot later. Three from Hell.
It's 14 years in between.
Yeah. And that was and I think I was reading an article and somebody asked him if he thought that he would bring the family back for anything else, like have just another movie. And he was basically like, no, fuck no. It was very hard just to get that one made. And then Sid Haig, Captain Spaulding, actually died. Like 5 days after Three from Hell was released. He was supposed to have a really big role in Three from Hell, and he was too sick. And so I think that kind of put a damper on everything. And he was like, nobody's getting any younger. And that's very true. So this movie, and it's very obvious. So it was inspired by 70s horror movies like The Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Hills Have Eyes. Rob Zombie actually wanted to create a comparably horrific family of monsters, which he did. It's giving very much Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Which one has Matthew McConaughey in it?
A New Beginning. That's the fourth one.
It's giving very much that movie. Like, doesn't it have that exact same feel? The trailer parky feel?
Yeah, but also it kind of still has that Viggo Morrison feel from the third one as well.
Yeah. And I'm sure that Rob Zombie got a lot of inspiration from all those movies. Yeah. So House of a Thousand Corpses actually started out, so I don't know if you know, but every year Universal Studios, so there's two, there's the one in Florida, there's the one in Hollywood. They do for Halloween, it's like Halloween Horror Nights, and they have themed like haunted houses. Well, Rob Zombie was actually supposed to be designing one of the haunted houses for Universal Studios Hollywood, and this is the concept that he came up with. This House of a Thousand Corpses, like this family of deranged trailer parky murderers. And once he started pitching it to Universal Studios, it kind of took a life of its own, and it went from being just like this haunted house attraction idea to a full-blown like movie idea. And Universal Studios was like, fuck yeah, like we're totally on board. But then I think that maybe they misunderstood who Rob Zombie was, because once they saw it, they were like, we can't release this. It's crazy. What the hell is this? And so they actually like did not allow him to release it. He actually had to buy the rights from Universal to get it made.
Yeah,
because it was crazy.
This movie was shot in 2001.
Yeah, so it had a rocky release. And it ended up he ended up selling it to Lionsgate, who put it out, but he had to edit it a lot. So I was reading it. So this movie is like, how long is it? It's like an hour and like 20.
It's like, I think it says an hour and 33 minutes, but honestly 5 to 6 of those minutes are the closing credits.
Yeah, okay, so yes, because Rob Zombie, obviously a very musical person, he did the music for this movie. So he was like, I made it, so you're gonna fucking hear it. But it had a rocky start, it had a rocky production, and he actually feels like it's very flawed. He doesn't really like the movie, but of course it's a cult classic now. It wasn't when it came out. People didn't like it. But
I think
people are
got
haters. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think people get Rob Zombie movies. And something, I guess, this was like one of my maybe third or fourth time watching it, but this was the first time I watched it in a very long time. And what I've realized with these movies, and by these movies I mean with Rob Zombie movies, is you have to understand that you're not gonna like anybody in these films. There's no character that's a audience avatar. There isn't someone that you can relate to. You're just watching these events unfold, and you're watching them. It's almost like in real time. You just have to accept that people are going to die. People are awful, and there isn't anyone who's going to either save or someone that you can feel like, oh, okay, well, like I really enjoy this character. They are here for you to watch the violence of it. I know some people really like the dialogue. I don't know who they are, but I guess they like it. It's visually, his movies are very visually just appealing. He's so creative and so good. And I know I've said before that I really enjoy Rob Zombie's music, which I do. And it's like his stage designs and it makes perfect sense when you say this started off as a horror attraction, because that's really where this movie shines. It's just the layout, the color schemes, the set designs. It's so just freaking cool. And it's like, okay, you get that, you get so much eye candy that it's almost just like, okay, and I guess somebody's talking as well.
He is great with props, right?
Yes,
Like,
he's
I
amazing.
mean, everything, even in when we watch like Halloween 2, Halloween 2009, his version, he's really good at building a set.
Yes.
He is going to make you believe, like, okay, these nasty ass people really live here. Like, it's full of stuff, it's full of junk. It's like when they're like walking around the house, it's just like it's set up really well. There's no area, no room is going to be devoid of like character stuff, things to
Yes.
look at. There's all kinds of references in the posters, in the graffiti, like just in their trinkets in their room. Like, he's really good at setting a scene, and his movies do all have a very similar feel, a very similar look, the color, the lighting that he gives, and he does a really good job of like setting tone as well. So let's get into the movie. So the movie actually opens with this little featurette of this fictional television host called Dr. Wolfenstein. And they have a little Rob Zombie cameo, a tiny one. He is Dr. Wolfenstein's assistant. And it's giving very much. Tell me, do you remember? Because
Yes, I do. I remember him.
Morgus.
Yeah, Morgus. I was like, I do remember him. As soon as you said that, I was like, I remember him on Friday nights.
Yes, I was like,
oh my God.
Well, as I was watching this, I'd forgotten about this like little feature at the Dr. Wolfenstein, because I was like, Rob Zombie had to have watched Morgus, right? Like, it is Morgus.
Morgus.
He had to.
So, okay, Morgus is.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because
Because people
really
are probably
excited.
like, what the fuck? Because I think it is like a New Orleans
Thing.
like, Morgus is from New Orleans. Like, he lived in New Orleans.
In New Orleans. And it was like on Friday nights, there would be like this show that came on with Dr. Morgus. And he was a mad scientist. And he kind of looked like a wolf, but he also kind of looked like a nutria. And
yes,
he had like a rat face, but he was like hairy like a wolf.
yes.
And he would be like, almost like a Elvira. Think of it like that. Like, he would kind of host.
Exactly.
And it was very, very funny, but it came on Friday nights. It was so cool.
And so he would be like the introduction to whatever that horror movie, or that like late night science fiction or horror movie or TV show or whatever was going to be that night.
Right.
And he was like really eccentric, sciencey, and I was like, but he was on, so it originated in New Orleans, but it was on, I looked it up, from the 50s to the 80s. This man was working hard, overtime.
And then it got in syndication, because for us to be able to see it,
right.
It was running.
It was running. And so I'm like, because we would have been watching it like in the 90s.
In the 90s.
So I was like, I just know, like, I Googled it and nobody made that connection, but I wish so badly that I could ask Rob Zombie, like, did you get this inspiration from Morgus the Magnificent? Because it was such a huge part of my childhood. As soon as I saw it, I was like, this is Morgus. But so after this little featurette, we get our first look at Captain Spaulding, who is played by Sid Haig. And it's a little TV advertisement for Captain Spaulding's Museum of Monsters and Madmen, but also fried chicken and gasoline. So he is a Renaissance man. I was reading that Sid Haig, like, Rob Zombie didn't look for somebody. He didn't audition like for this role. He didn't put out like a casting call. He was like, Captain Spaulding is going to be Sid Haig. And if Sid Haig can't do it, the character won't exist. He wrote the character for Sid Haig, who works it perfectly. I mean, he fits this character so well.
He's very I think he is just knowing that I've seen the second one as well. He is the most consistently written character, and I think what works really well for Doctor, I want to call him Doctor Spaulding so bad all the time.
I know.
Captain
But
Spaulding
he's just a captain.
I feel that just a captain. You didn't go to school?
He didn't go to school. He was too busy selling gasoline and fried chicken.
Look, because ain't nothing like a hot piece of chicken while you getting your gas after.
It's true. After the club, we've all been there.
And if you haven't, we've been there enough for you.
Right. This shit is good.
I think that Rob Zombie's dialogue works the best on Captain Spaulding. And
he commands the dialogue.
And it feels so authentic for that character to talk the way that Rob Zombie writes his characters.
I feel like it has to be because Sid Haig, I don't know if you remember this, but Sid Haig's been in a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
But specifically some of the movies that he's been in were like a lot of old Pam Grier movies. Like he was in Jackie Brown, and I was like, that checks, you know, like that vibes. He gives that tone because he says stuff like, you know, I love when people say like kick you up and down, or like put my boot all the way up in, or like stuff like that. It's just like real black speak. Like I just love when like old black people talk, and that's what he gives those vibes. You know what I mean? Like if you close your eyes, Captain Spaulding could be somebody's like old black grandfather talking.
Which checks out because, you know, we find out in the second movie that his brother is played by Ken Faree, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, that's what I mean by he's so consistently written.
Mm-hmm. And I know, because, and Rob Zombie's a big fan, and so we know that Rob Zombie is a fan of, like, that type of dialogue. You know, like, just old, like, blaxploitation film, like, dialogue. Like, it gives that sometimes. Do you remember Sid Haig is also, he has a scene in Kill Bill 2. Do you remember that?
He plays...
it was not a long scene, but he is actually the bartender at Bud's strip joint job.
Where they had the shitty water all over the bathroom?
Yes, and ain't nobody up in here, so he's allowed to be late. That's the one. Where Bud's, as usual, is as an asshole on his elbow. Yeah. But Sid Haig actually plays the bartender, and he talks. I think that this is just how Sid Haig talks. Like it's just how he sounds. But so we fast forward to the actual place, to Captain Spaulding. So it's October 30th, 1977. We know that Rob Zombie loves the 70s.
Yeah, he loves the 70s. He said before that he loves it because there's a certain level of like, what's the word I want to use? Kind of like isolation, because there aren't many phones. They aren't, you know, there isn't the internet, so you can really sell that, hey, my tire got slashed or I ran out of gas, and you really are just stuck like Chuck.
Right. And so that puts you in a situation where you just like have to accept help. From whoever. So we get some colorful conversation between Captain Spaulding and Stucky, and we talk about Planet of the Apes dolls, up people's asses, whacking weasels. And while all this colorful conversation is going on, Captain Spaulding gets robbed by two of the dumbest criminals ever. And Captain Spaulding doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care at all.
He is laughing.
He thinks this shit is hilarious. And he says instead of the robber robbing him, he should take some fried chicken back home to his mama so that he won't have to stuff his boot all up in his ass. And I was like, this dialogue is... Where is Rob Zombie's Oscar? It's like, it's amazing. I love it.
And it's just so it's so natural. Like the scene, Sid Haig is the best. Is the best character in this movie.
He's the best character. And I just have to agree with you so much. He's the best written. Like I have to assume that this dialogue. I feel like Rob Zombie was probably like improvise a lot. You know what I mean? Like I think that he probably gave him dialogue, but I think Sid Haig probably put his shine on it because it's just so it flows out of him so well. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like he's acting. It feels like it's really like how this guy any scene that he's in. Well, the robber doesn't like chicken and he hates clowns because I don't know if we mentioned Captain Spaulding is a clown. So the situation devolves very quickly, and Captain Spaulding ends up killing them both.
Because he's a clown and not a joke.
Right. He's like, you better recognize. So him and his assistant, they kill both of them, and he gets blood all over his best clown suit. And that really, that'll fuck up your night. You know, that brings me to just a aside. We typically on the podcast do like a kill count. And I'll usually say like these are the first like on-screen kills. These are technically like the first 2 on-screen kills, but I have a hard time really following that format with this movie because it's not shot in a really like linear format. So we're just gonna I'll call them out when they come, but it's a lot. So these 2 people die, but after the opening credits, we get our victims in this movie. So we get Bill and Jerry, 2 guys, and 2 girls, Mary and Denise. So they're driving, and they're almost out of gas, and so they, of course, have to stop at Captain Spaulding's because it is in the middle of nowhere, and he has everything. Gas, chicken, madmen, monsters. So we learn that they're writing a book about odd roadside attractions. And we also learn that they are all extremely insufferable. We are not rooting for them in this movie.
This is where the movie kind of like it's three different movies that happens. There's the Captain Spaulding movie. There's the Scooby-Doo mystery movie. And then there's the kind of ill-forgotten Dr. Satan movie.
Yes.
That's just kind of like there. But I would rather watch the Dr. Satan movie than
the
this.
Dr. Satan movie, the Dr. Satan, all of that kind of does get pushed to
aside.
Yes, but I have a fact about that. So we see that the kids come in, they get their gas, they get some free chicken, which I think is super generous that he gives free chicken with gas. But they do buy tickets to this like murder ride that he has in the back, which is actually like pretty cool.
Cool.
I just thought that was so neat because if this was a real place, I would be the kind of person that would get murdered because I'd be like, I want to do it. Like, let's do it. So we get some animatronic scenes of Albert Fish, Lizzie Borden, Ed Gein. These are all like real murderers, right? Well, there's also this like Dr. Satan portion of it. And Dr. Satan is supposed to be like this area's like big bad serial killer. Originally, Captain Spaulding is supposed to play up the Dr. Satan thing. He's supposed to kind of get them to want to go see the place where Dr. Satan is hung, which does happen. He draws them the map to lead them there. But Dr. Satan, the whole time, is supposed to just be a ruse to get people out to this area because it's supposed to be a setup for them to get taken by this family. Because anybody stupid enough to like do this is, you know, the perfect people that are supposed to be killed. But Dr. Satan was actually supposed to be Grandpa Hugo. That all got cut. I don't exactly know why. Grandpa Hugo took a big backseat in the movie because he doesn't really contribute very much.
He's in the glove compartment at this point.
Right. So he's just a part of the like background cast of characters. And I don't know why he did that, but I do know that you know, I think if you like ask people about the movie, people's fan favorite characters are the ones that he continued on the trilogy with, right? So it's Baby, Otis, and Captain Spaulding are the only ones that people really like cared about. So I don't know if that's why he chose these changes, because he could see that there were some characters that were standing out a lot more than others. But that's how Dr. Satan, that whole storyline ends up taking a major like step back. Like it's definitely put on the back burner because it might as well have not been in the movie at all.
Which is such a shame, because that again is another set and another part of the movie that I think is really cool and really like just fun to see. I find these 4 victims so insufferable, especially Wendy.
Her name is Mary. And
you sure it's not Wendy?
I'm sure that it's Mary. And
but you knew who I was talking about.
Yes, I did. And it really doesn't matter what her name is because I do know who you're talking about. And Sherry Moon Zombie also finds her insufferable. Can't fucking stand her. And I don't blame her, but we'll get into that. So our arguably most sympathetic victim, Denise, is calling back home. So she's calling in to check with her dad. And while she's calling her dad, they show this news clip informing us that 5 local high school cheerleaders are missing from the area. And that'll become important later. So one of the guys, Jerry, who's mad annoying. Like, I'm not trying to be rude, but like, he's sweet, but like, come on. You're very, very much obnoxious. But he's super fascinated by the story that he heard on the murder tour, and he actually wants to find the tree where he was hanged because, of course, he does. And so he wants to drive out there in the middle of the night. It's pouring buckets raining. It's crazy rain. Like it's like a shelter in place amount of rain. But yeah, he wants to ride out to see this tree in the rain, which you're not going to be able to see anyway because it's raining. So Captain Spaulding draws him a map to the area, and all I could think of was this couldn't be me. This would never be me.
First of all, this wouldn't have been me because when it starts raining, I know good and goddamn well to be in the house.
Right.
First things first.
They're out.
And about.
Right. 2 out and about for me. And so another couldn't be me. As they're driving to this tree, they see a hitchhiker. When this is Sherry Moon Zombie, aka Baby, and they pick her up because of course they fucking do. And I just kept thinking I would never be in this situation. This would never be me.
She could be on the ground dying, crying, not begging on the window trying to get in. No.
And I know that people are probably like, wow, y'all are horrible. You sound really mean. No, this is about self-preservation.
You don't ever let nothing or nobody in your car.
Never. Have y'all not seen Hitchhiker? Like, I'm mad confused. You don't do it.
Then what makes it even more silly as we're going on with the movie is, or you tell him, because Baby don't even live far. The bitch could have been walking.
No, she doesn't live far because they end. Okay. So let's keep going. Okay. So she asks for a ride home, and they ask her if she knows anything about this Dr. Satan hanging tree, and she's like, fuck yeah, I do. It's like right by my house, and they're like, that's amazing. Take us to it. Couldn't be me. Okay, so along the way, their tire gets shot out by a man in a bear suit, who we later learn is Rufus Jr. And they have no spare tire because Jerry forgot to put it back in the car. Jerry, if they hadn't gotten killed and they made it out of this, if they'd still been friends with Jerry after this, I would lose all respect for them. Because what the fuck? Why? What were you thinking? We're going on a road trip and you didn't put the tire back in the car? I was irritated.
Why you took it out?
Well, he took it out, remember, because Bill, who seems like the more responsible one, who's also Dwight from the show The Office, this is like one of his first roles, he asked him to put air in the tire. If you know you have a friend like Jerry, why would you give him a task like this? Jerry doesn't seem like he even remembers to pack his own underwear. But you were like, I'm going to trust you with putting the spare air in the tire and then putting it back in the car. No, he failed. So now they're stuck. They have no plan. And so I'm sure Baby is like, this is so fucking easy.
She's like, this is almost too easy. Am I getting some?
I know, she's like, damn, are we just getting better or is this shit just getting very easy? So Baby says that her brother, Rufus Jr., RJ, has a tow truck and she tells them that he can just come get them and, bring their car back to the house. And then she's like, well, let's just walk. And I'm like, bitch, they should have told you to just walk in the first place. They just walked to her house. Whatever. She takes Bill. They walk to the house, leaving the other three waiting in the car. So at this point, we get a clip of Otis. So this is our first time seeing him. And he is crazy. Okay. So this is when we learn that the missing cheerleaders are actually with Otis, like chained up in their house. Once Baby and Bill get to the house, she starts showing off her mutilated dolls that she's nailed to the wall. And Bill just ignores these obvious red flags. He doesn't say anything about it.
That's what makes these characters insufferable. Is if they're not saying something obnoxious, they're doing something just totally just fucking stupid. And this is the first time we see Otis is when I realized like the movie is cut strange because that scene, in my opinion, came too soon.
I agree.
I mean, because it's like you have this scene that shows this is definitely a very, very, very dangerous scenario. Otis is with the cheerleaders. He's a psycho. He's in the house. But the next scene is them showing Baby with her mutilated dolls, which is kind of more like, that's weird.
Right.
It's kind of like you already know it's in danger before. And so that scene just comes too soon.
I agree, because now you don't get the build up where it's like we all know that they're in a dangerous situation, right? But I guess it's like they just showed us too quickly.
Too soon.
Right. The movie is cut very weird because he takes, and they're shot differently. So you have the movie that's running normal, everything, the color's normal. It's just like running in real time. But then you get these shots and they're always in like inverted colors or like some kind of like weird tone. There's always like some music playing and it's showing the characters in their like most deranged forms, because we get these a lot with Otis and we get them a lot with Baby. It was a choice for sure from Rob Zombie.
It was definitely a choice. It works. It's like it works because the colors make it really look really cool, and there's stuff about it that's kind of like fun to look at. But once you've seen it before, it's kind of hard to not just think like, okay, well, this isn't necessary. This is very just bizarre.
It is bizarre.
It is, and I just find Otis the most. He's so different tonally in the first and second of this trilogy. But in this movie, I just find him so just. He's not scary. He's just fucking weird. He's just so weird to like look at. He's almost albino-like. What the fuck is going on there?
That's a thing. So I was reading like facts about the movie. In the first movie, I'm not sure that I don't know that Rob Zombie thought that this was going to be like a trilogy, right? Like this was his first movie directing. I think that he probably thought like, oh, I'm going to make a movie and we'll just like see what happens. I don't think he gave a lot of thought to the characters and like continuity because I don't think that he thought that he was like going to continue with these characters, but Otis actually is albino in the first one. He's supposed to be albino, but he's like obviously very normal in Devil's Rejects. Like, I mean, he's crazy, but he looks normal. And in like 3 from Hell, he's like normal. Anyway, so Baby brings Bill into the house and she says that her brother has already left to pick up the other 3, which sounds crazy, but it's true. He does pick them up. And we see that he is in fact the bear guy who shot out their tire initially. So again, we're like, Molly, you in danger, girl, because they are not in a good situation right now.
And I just wish that for me, like that in that scene with the tire, we could have even had him not wearing the bear jacket, but then seeing it like hanging up or seeing it on the couch.
Right.
It's just those things would have been like, oh my God, like they're caught because right now we just kind of have Baby just being this nice, as nice as she can be, but like it's nice.
Right, and it's like she is being nice, but there's an air of malice under it, right? It's something about it is uncomfortable because she is being nice, but it doesn't always feel
nice. She's very, very friendly with this girl's boyfriend.
Okay, yes. Let's talk about it. She's very, very friendly with Bill and Mary. Like, okay, I get it, Mary. You don't like it. But, like, Mary's just a bitch, so I don't really feel sorry for her.
Mary's so insufferable, and she escalates. Let's get to it.
I think I would have liked this part better too. And we're giving a lot of criticism for, like, we have to remember, like, this was like his first movie. Right? Like, he's never written a movie before.
If you ever listen to this, Rob, like, we really are fans.
We really are fans. Like, I have this DVD. I watched it until it was like threadbare. Like, I really, really enjoy this movie. But it's because we watched it so many times that we're able to like pick out these little things. But I would have almost liked it better if I don't know, if it would have been something on the ground that had shredded the tire. Or, you know what I mean? Like, if not him shooting it, but something that they'd set up on the road. I almost would have liked that better because it's like, are they being set up by this family or not? If we didn't have bear guys shooting at the tire, like say there was just some apparatus on the ground that like blew out the tire. If we hadn't gotten that scene of Otis with the cheerleaders, I feel like at this point we would be feeling really uneasy, but we wouldn't exactly know why.
Right. And it would really, really sell just how really good Sherry Zumoon Zombie is playing this slightly deranged, but also kind of like, cool, like chick, she's kind of like, yeah.
She is, and that's why the guys, because she's obviously also very like sexy, right? Like it's her sex appeal that's like bringing them in. But at no point does she ever really do anything to, like, she's not, well, I mean, she does, but she's provoked. She's just really kind of friendly, like a free spirit, and she is playing the role they're just like playing with them, right? Because at any moment they could kill them.
Exactly.
She's doing a really good job with that, and I wish that he had relied more on that to like set the tone than like these really heavy-handed.
Well, spoilers. These spoilers, pretty much.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, because now we know that like Otis is there with the cheerleaders, so they are going to kill them. Okay, because they're killing the cheerleaders, they are going to kill them, and we know their tire's been shot out, so we know that like they're stuck, and so we know they're going to die. So now it's just a matter of like how and like when are they going to die instead of are they going to make it out of this? I don't know.
Is she in on it or is she not in on it?
Right, because we don't ever see her do anything. You know what I mean? That would have been cool. And Bill is like just way too enamored with Baby to practice any form of self-preservation. As they're sitting down, the rest of the gang arrives. So now everybody's hanging out, and RJ is like fixing their car. And Baby is just kind of over it. She's like, I really don't like these people. And I was like, baby, I don't blame you, because these people are annoying as fuck. Like, she's not even pretending to listen to what they're saying. She's like, either we kill them or we get them out of my fucking house because I'm over it. You're like, she's like, well, I've done my part, okay?
Get them some foil paper so they can get this fucking food onto the go. So I can go with my fucking life.
So this is where we meet Mother Firefly, and she's also very sexual. So we see where Baby gets it. She's very thrown off, also just like Baby, and she announces that Tiny is home and that RJ is going to get a new wheel, and that is going to take a couple of hours. So the gang's in an uproar, but like, what are you going to do? You're already here.
Which I thought was weird. They were like a couple of hours, and I was like, it's fucking raining outside. How long you thought it was going to take?
A couple of hours. I was like, that. Even if you were at like fucking the Volkswagen dealership, you'd sit there. I've sat at Volkswagen for 4 hours before. At Walmart, getting a simple tire plug for 5. I ended up having to walk to a Mexican restaurant. I was like, this family thus far is being very accommodating for you pieces of shit.
And while you're waiting, they're like, I'm going to prepare a meal.
They're letting you watch good TV. They've offered you hot chocolate with marshmallows, and they're offering you a free meal. They're really being ungrateful.
It's going to be a dinner and a show. Like, shit.
Mother Firefly lets the guests know that they are invited to dinner, and everyone is expected to wear masks. And everybody is just fucking complaining about it. And Mother Firefly's like, we take Halloween seriously in this house.
And put on the fucking mask.
All we're asking is for you to put on the mask. It's free food.
You dumb bitch.
Just put on the fucking mask. But
and what's so crazy is, to me, another red flag that we don't talk about with just how good Rob Zombie does these sets is, what do you think it smelled like in there?
Dante, it has to be musty, thick.
So they're at the table with the mask.
They're at the table. They do not want to wear the mask. They're just like, put the fucking mask on. But we meet Tiny for the first time, who is anything but tiny. He's huge. Mother Firefly tells a story about how her husband, Earl, went crazy, was going through like a psychotic episode, tried to burn the house down, and Tiny was badly burned in the process. So now he has a hard time hearing, and he wears a mask around strangers because he's shy, self-conscious about it.
Do you think, I don't know, this is just like, I'm bringing this up because she says her husband. And from what we know about the second movie, we know the paternity of Baby. Do you think Mother Firefly was just a prostitute?
That's a good question. Yeah, probably.
Tiny, Rufus. Otis, and Baby are all her children.
Well, I don't think Otis is her child. I think Otis is, because when I was reading about the movie, Otis's last name is Driftwood, right? They're the Firefly family. I think that he's not of the. I think he's just another person. I don't know.
What if he's just the oldest and the husband is a Firefly? He was just like his dad Driftwood. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is, I was thinking to myself, because of just, the theatrics and just the way she dresses and the way she behaves, like, and just also where they live at, it's like sharecropping or hooking, pretty much. So,
I mean, she's definitely giving hooker. No offense.
She gives hooker. She's giving straight up, sex worker. But I also can agree with you with maybe Otis not being her son, simply because Otis looks so fucking old.
He looks so old.
This motherfucker looks so old in the face, and maybe it's just, all of that, like, killing and wearing, wearing the people's skin.
People's skin. It might age you.
Yeah.
But because Rufus, Baby, they look pretty young, you know?
And Mama looks young, looks kind of young too. She looks age appropriate.
She looks age appropriate, yeah.
And Captain Spaulding looks, normal,
He looks like he and like the mother Firefly. They look age appropriate as a couple.
As a couple.
Yeah. So I know Tiny was burned really badly.
Yeah.
So we hear this story. He's wearing the mask or whatever, and then we cut to a scene where Baby is getting ready in her room because this is, like we said, dinner and a show. And so she is preparing for her show, and she has one of the cheerleaders chained up in her room, like chained to her bed. And she's basically torturing her just like with her voice because I'm sure this cheerleader's like, please just fucking kill me. And there's also a dead cheerleader like right next to her. And this cheerleader looks so annoyed that she has to be subjected to this.
Because it probably smells in there.
That house has to be so fucking funky. And then I know the food that they're cooking stinks. You know that they're not making good food.
I don't think they wash their food well.
I don't think they wash themselves well.
I don't think that the food has a really good flavor as well.
It doesn't look good. I'm sure it doesn't smell good. The dinner is probably not great, but it's free.
It's free, but we just had chicken. I'm not really hungry, to be honest. And I know he's seasoned.
I know that chicken is good. I know for a fact that chicken good.
I know he be like, all right, you about to fill in your thing now? Let me go drop it right now.
Right. Because remember when I think it's like the next day when the police come, he's like, oh, I haven't dropped the chicken yet. Let me go get you some. It was going to be hot, fresh, ready. And they said no. I was like, y'all are tripping because this looks like the only good food that you can get anywhere in this area.
100%.
So we also we meet Grandpa Hugo, and this is our first time. I don't even want to say protagonists because I hate them so much. This is the first time that the Scooby-Doo gang meets Otis, who comes in with a dead baby in a jar. So that was probably alarming to them. And Mother Firefly is like happy to see this dead baby in a jar, which I'm sure is also very alarming to them because, a normal person would be like, even if y'all do that, they'd be like, oh no, not in front of company. No, she's totally okay with him bringing this dead baby in a jar to the dinner table.
I'm just thinking again about had we not known what we know because they showed us the threats are escalating. Mutilated dolls is one thing. Seeing, oh man, they got shot by somebody big and tall. Oh, this is a big and tall guy. Could it be? This motherfucker is literally carrying a dead baby.
Right. But we already know that they're killers. And we already know that Baby has the cheerleaders. We could have done without, I think, all these cheerleader shots. I think they could have revealed the cheerleaders later.
Like, could you imagine how it would have been if once they're revealed to us, then it's like he just had a vision of scenes of like Baby getting dressed with a cheerleader in the closet. Otis, before he came down, the first cut into him talking to the cheerleaders. Because really the cheerleader thing is in the background and he like almost beats our head with. Remember when I showed you that clip on the news? Well, this is fucking why. And it's kind of like
I wish that he'd been a little bit more subtle with it.
Yeah, because they really would have made it even scarier because that's one of my criticisms of the movie. It's just that you really don't get a chance to get scared because you're shown.
Yes. So Otis then he sits down for dinner, but he just proceeds to like shit all over these kids. I mean, he is like basically y'all are a waste of space. I would rather you not be here. And you're soft, weak, stupid. I mean, just And they're just like sitting there, just taking this. So after getting shit on at dinner, I know they're probably sourpuss moods as fuck because I know the food was not good. So we get to showtime, and it's like a little variety show, and we get Grandpa telling some raunchy jokes, screaming into the mic.
He's
and
just screaming about eating your mama pussy.
And Jerry is eating it up. He is having a
like your mama
time.
pussy.
Exactly. It comes full circle. So Jerry is beside himself, just having a blast. The other three are kind of like, this shit is very bizarre. Like this, I'm ready to go. But Jerry is just having too much fun for self-preservation. So once Grandpa is done with his set, killed it. He's like, I nailed it. Baby comes out to sing I Want to Be Loved by You. Bill and Jerry are, of course, eating it up. And Denise and Mary are really big haters because at this point, she's really not doing anything wrong.
And she put on full like costume. She's really giving everything she got.
Yes. She hair, makeup, outfit, the lip syncing. She understood the assignment. And Mary and Denise are giving her the stink eye. Bitch. She skipped dinner to do her makeup. The of these bitches. That's why we don't feel bad for them. So Baby comes down, and the song itself is very flirtatious. She sits on Bill's lap, and Mary has had enough. She snaps, and she pushes Baby to the floor and calls her a whore. So Baby does the only logical thing in this situation, and she pulls a knife on her.
And I just felt like that's the kind of reaction I want from anybody in a movie. You push me down, where my switchblade? I don't have time to talk.
To the ground in her own home.
She pushed her down like she was a fucking man.
She did. Like a man. And then Baby hit the floor in this gown. Okay, let's talk about it. Like, she cleaned herself up for this event. She gets pushed on this like barnyard floor. She jumps up with a knife, and like Mother Firefly's like, Baby, don't. And Baby says, this bitch has got it coming, and I've never agreed with somebody in a film more.
And I just feel like it's a fucking show.
You've never been to a show before?
And why would you want to fight with somebody who you're at their house with their mom and their brother who's carrying a baby fetus? And I know that bitch smell.
And like, you have nowhere to go.
So you're escalating the situation. So that should say we didn't think. Because, once again, it's just one of those things. If we didn't know what we knew, maybe that could have been the caveat that said, you know what? Let's kill these motherfuckers.
Right. And I would have been like,
good.
I mean, I get it. Yeah, Mary's being a fucking asshole. So you have
Jerry laughs too fucking hard. Like, it wasn't that funny.
It's not believable. You know what? The jokes deserved a chuckle. You're doing too much. Okay, he's got to go too. So
off with his head.
So Baby has this knife out, and she's ready. She's very much prepared to cut this bitch, and we as the audience are right behind her, rooting for her. So before things can escalate to that level, and Mary gets her ass handed to her because she would have. RJ comes in and he says the car is done, and they're like, get y'all shit. And they tell the four amigos to get to stepping, and they do. They don't say thank you for dinner, thank you for the show, give Grandpa Hugo our regards, nothing. They're mad rude, and they leave.
You really do get what you deserve.
I agree. And Rob Zombie, we already know this because we're watching with our eyes, but Rob Zombie actually says that he wants you to, especially in the second one, but he was like, he wants you to be rooting for the Firefly family. And that's why he made them so fucking insufferable. So they make it to the car, and they're leaving. And I like this scene. I thought that this was like neat. It was a neat little scene. There would have been easier ways to do it, to attack them, but they get to the gate to the farm, and it's locked, so Bill has to get out of the car to open the gate so that they can leave. And while he's doing that, Tiny and Otis, who were charading as scarecrows, jump down, and Bill and Jerry get fucked up. Like, they beat the shit out of them. Just fisticuffs, beat them bad. And the girls get dragged from the car, and it's pouring raining, and that's the end of that night. Now we're cutting to Halloween Day.
Which, imagine how, again, if we wouldn't have seen him in the bear coat at that point, imagine if we would have, that was the first time we would have seen Rufus in the bear coat. It would have been like the reveal.
Or if we hadn't seen, like, we get the fact that Otis is crazy because he's, it's obvious. He has the baby in the jar. He comes down. He's talking, raging about stuff. If we didn't know that he was also a killer, then I think it would have added another element too, that they got stopped at the gate. It would have been like, damn, I knew he was crazy, but I didn't know that he was like a murderer. You know what I mean? And it also could have added like a layer of, well, is this in retaliation for Mary like pushing baby? It could have been like in their eyes, like, damn, what did we do to deserve this kind of thing? You know what I mean?
You hit my fucking sister like a fucking man.
Push her to the ground in a gown.
And baby said, I don't care where that blade came from in that gown.
She keeps that thing on her. She is always ready.
But that bitch came out quick too.
Super quick. As soon as she hit the ground, she was up. You can tell she gets in bar fights. She was up. Blade ready.
She was like, I can't, because don't ever let them get you on the ground.
No. She was up so quick, didn't even have time to blink. She was up. Mary would have gotten so fucked up right then and there. She didn't even need her family. And Mary gets it later. So we're now on Halloween Day, and Denise's dad, Don, alerts the police because Denise didn't make it home. So she was supposed to be going home right after Captain Spaulding's when she called him. And the sheriff is convinced that they're probably just stuck in the mud somewhere. That is, of course, not the case. So Denise comes to, and she is tied up in Otis's room, and Otis can't stand her, nor can he stand her screaming. And he's like, bitch, I need you to be quiet immediately. So she is distraught, and she asks for Bill.
Where's Bill?
Yeah. And I'm sure that she wishes that she hadn't asked that, because this is, so the 5 cheerleaders are dead. We have the 2 guys that died in the beginning. So that's 7 deaths in the movie thus far. So now we get to Bill. So this is our next like true on-screen death. We kind of see it via flashbacks. He is killed to the sound of Brick House
by the Commodores.
And it's great. Perfect music choice. So Bill is tortured. He's cut up. And Otis reveals to Denise that he has sewn Bill's upper body. He's sewn it to a fish's lower body?
He's been cut up like fish sticks.
And he calls him Fish Boy, which is appropriate.
He's like, what is this? A fish and a boy? Fish Boy.
Fish Boy, perfect. Denise calls Otis a fucking freak, and she's not wrong, because the shit is crazy. We now know for sure, if we didn't know before, that they are in trouble, because Bill died horrifically.
And all because Denise pushed baby.
Mary pushed baby. Denise is... Denise is... Yeah, she just kind of... Yeah.
Her purpose was only to have a father who would come look for her.
Right. So the dad is supposed to come looking for them, and that he's going to bring along the fodder cops, because they're always fodder cops in the movies. And so we cut back to Spaulding's, and the sheriff is... So, I'm sorry, this is the Lieutenant Wydell, and his Steve Nash, I think, is the other cop. So they're looking for the missing kids. And we get some great dialogue from Captain Spaulding. Every scene that he's in is great. And Spaulding tells him that he drew them a map to go see the Dr. Satan hanging tree. So, of course, the Lieutenant Wydell is like, draw me the same map that you drew for the kids. I don't want to say, because this movie compared to Devil's Rejects, which is, I feel like, a lot more movie-ish. Like, I feel like it's much better put together as a film. This movie feels like a fever dream. It just feels like he was so excited to... Yeah. He had all these thoughts, and he wanted to put all these thoughts to film. And so he crammed a lot of just stuff in the movie. But, like, as a linear, flowing, like, storyline and movie, it doesn't work that way. And that's fine. You know, you just have to kind of, I guess, accept that when you're going into this movie, that it's not that kind of movie.
It's a lot of just scenes, because I think, personally, the scene with them drawing the map and them finding the car could have been the end, and everything with the burying them alive and the chasing the stuff that's gonna come later. I feel like if you moved just that and really took that big chunk of movie and spaced it out more, where they were in the house and they were trapped, you know, and instead of, you know, being pulled away and then fade to black, what if they ran around the junkyard? What if they were hiding and finding dead cheerleaders? Because, you know, if we didn't know they were there, they were finding them, kind of like Laurie Strode in the Wallace house.
Yes, that would be great.
I feel like that there, because now we're really about to just watch. We know everything, so it's not scary. It's just like, okay, we know Bill is dead. Okay, we know they're gonna die. So there's just no surprise, and I think what makes movies scary is that suspense, that uneasy feeling. I'm not uneasy when the police come to the door of Mother Butterfly's house, because I already know where they're gonna die. It doesn't matter to me. It's just a matter of, you know.
And we know, and when they split up, we're like, okay, well,
they're gonna die.
Let's get to that scene.
Let's get to it. Yeah.
Okay, so we cut to Denise is having some strange kind of dreams, hallucination. She wakes up and she is tied to a bed in a room that has fetuses in jars. And she's wearing like a doll's outfit. And Tiny brings her some Agatha Crispies. And I thought that was so cute. Agatha Crispies cereal. And he's wearing a t-shirt that says cheap as Halloween costume. And I was like, oh, Tiny, that's so sweet.
You could tell his mom bought his clothes.
You can tell. And he has on those like ill-fitting Dockers. And it's very endearing.
You gotta have a body to wear Dockers. You gotta have a body to wear that kind of stuff.
Tiny has a body, for sure, but it's like not giving...
Like a coat rack.
He does, bless him. So Tiny starts to eat in front of Denise, who doesn't want any Agatha Crispies, and he's eating out of a dog bowl that has Tiny on it, and I thought that was hilarious. But it's absolutely nauseating watching him eat.
It's very reminiscent of Hellraisers. You know,
it is giving Hellraiser.
Like he gives Hellraiser, and I always just wonder, including like this character and having him eat out of a dog bowl and stuff, and I'm just like, with all the grotesqueness, maybe it's something like him like kind of saying like, this is the more grotesque looking person, but he's probably the nicest person there, whereas the other people are there. But I just feel like in this movie, maybe that's just gonna get lost in the sauce.
I agree, because Tiny he never does anything like really wrong, right? So Denise begs him to let her go, and he does untie her because he's like, I'm just trying to eat my cereal in peace, and you're talking a lot. So he unties her and he's like, go girl, do your thing. And she starts to leave, but Otis grabs her, and Tiny's like, I mean, she has to go, so what do you want me to do?
And Otis being very aware of his brother's mental incapacity goes, fair.
Yeah.
That's why
Can't
I'm
blame
here,
you.
man. That's why I'm here.
He's like, I shouldn't have put that on you. It's okay. So this is actually where scene is where the missing cheerleader's body is found, like in the back of the car. It's all carved up. And now we cut to Jerry, who is still alive but bound, and Baby comes in and she starts torturing him, and she's like asking him some questions, and if he gets it right, he can leave. If he gets it wrong, he's totally fucked, her words, and she's honest because he is fucked, because she fucks him up. She asks who her favorite movie star is. He gives Marilyn Monroe, and I'm like, yeah, I guess that's a fair answer, but it's not. It's Betty Davis, and so she just, true to her word, she starts to scalp him with a razor, and it's pretty gruesome, gory. They show it.
Like for me at this point, it's just kind of like there's just so much depravity. It just gets lost. You know, I'm like, okay, it's just like I'm not scared. I'm just kind of like, all right, shit, where's this going?
That is such a good point, because yes, at a certain point you're like, it's too much. They're not doing a good job. Like, we didn't even see Bill get killed, right? Like, we kind of see it in flashbacks. And at this point, Bill's the only one that's died. Like, so you took away from the only real kill where we can see what they're really like kind of capable of. Other than that, the torture that you're inflicting on them is almost like kind of cartoonish. You know, it's over exaggerated. It's like overdone. I don't feel scared as like an audience member. I'm just kind of like, okay, that's crazy, you know?
It's just like, oh, okay, this is just kind of happening. All right, you know, she's scalping him. She's tied to a bed. Otis is yelling, you know, and
Which he does
baby
a lot.
baby is being annoying. Just her voice is very annoying.
Yeah.
At this point, you know, she scalped the wrong bitch in my opinion.
She didn't, yeah. I agree, because Mary had it coming. Jerry, I'm like, okay, he laughs too hard, but he's okay. So they have another part of the movie where I believe it's like Jerry, and they have him kind of like chained to the wall. Do you remember this scene? And it's like Otis and like Grandpa Hugo are watching like the Munsters, and they're like throwing knives at him, like just missing him, like kind of target practice with knives. And I'm like, I just don't see the point in this. Like, okay, so he's been untied to then be like chained to this wall for you to throw knives at it. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like, Denise got untied from Otis's room to be brought to the basement to be tied to a bed to then be like locked in a cage. Like,
it could have been he untied her and there was a little cat and mouse going along.
Which I would have appreciated. Let her get out of this room. And now she's in this house where she's totally disoriented. There's dead people all over the place. Like, it could have been
and
better.
There's 5 people who can be looking for her.
Right, like at any moment, and she could run into any of them.
Anybody. And they of varying degrees of fucking crazy.
But either way, she'd be in trouble. You know what I mean?
She's totally fucked.
Right. I mean, baby is, if she's anything, she's honest. You're fucked. And so I thought that would have been better. Some sense of suspense.
Dread. Of dread.
Right.
You know, so
we cut to Denise's dad arriving to town, and so he's going to join the cops, Lieutenant Wydell and Steve, in searching for his daughter, because at this point we know that something bad must have befallen them because they find their car, it's really fucked up, and there's like a dead cheerleader in the back. So they plan to search all of the farms in the area, and I guess the first one that they searched is the Firefly house. And I feel like they're not alert enough. Like, you're searching, like, it's not just, at this point, that it's not just that you're looking for this missing girl and her friends. Somebody's been murdered, and not just murdered, but like carved up and put in the trunk of a car. You see that their car is like very fucked up. So something has befallen them. They're not on guard enough. And it's unrealistic to me because Lieutenant Wydell seems pretty like savvy as a cop. You're going with just this fucking cop that seems like a rookie, Steve, and this elderly man. Like, and then y'all split up.
I was thinking that he must have thought Denise's dad was Matlock, and he was going to solve the case. So
Denise's dad was so worthless. I wish they hadn't put him in the film.
I wish that, and like you said earlier, cops are always cannon fodder in movies, but at this point, you didn't need the cop. You didn't need the cops to come.
I don't think you needed the cops.
Because the cop dying sets up the second movie really well.
And I wonder if he knew he was going to do that.
Because that's the only reason why he went to that fucking house with him and, a fucking administrative assistant and a 75-year-old retiree.
Elderly man. Yeah, I didn't really like this part, and I know that Rob Zombie probably thought of the idea of the dad, like her dad being there, and all this, I guess, is to set up the dad getting to the house. Okay, let's just walk through it. So Lieutenant Wydell, they get there and they decide to split up, which is very stupid, in my opinion, unrealistic. Lieutenant Wydell then goes into the house to talk to Mother Firefly. Steve and Don are traveling around the back of the house, and they're going through stuff, and they end up finding a shed that is chained locked. They open it, and inside they find Mary chained up, and there's 3 dead cheerleaders. And Rob Zombie, you could tell that he really was like, I feel like he was like proud of this scene because a lot happens. So it escalates very quickly. He cuts the sound, which he does a lot in movies, and he starts playing like a juxtaposed, like very upbeat, happy oldies tune. While all of this is happening, Steve the cop freaks out. I don't know why he was invited. He doesn't pull his gun. He doesn't secure the scene. He's not watching his back. He just freaks out. I guess y'all just saw a dead body. I don't know why you're this scared.
He has his gun because if you recall, when they find Otis says, "Drop your gun," and he drops it.
Yes, right. He does. So Steve freaks out. He starts calling over the radio, loud and crazy. And while this is he's calling to Lieutenant Wydell, which distracts him enough for him to get shot by Mother Firefly. So he's dead. Don tries to run away. Don's like, bye. He doesn't try to help at all. He's running away and he gets shot in the back by Otis. So he is dead. I do not understand. I don't understand like the layout. Like I know obviously it had to happen this way, but why isn't Steve shooting Otis while Otis is trained on the father running away?
Because he's an administrative assistant. You can't tell me no different. You can't
Right.
tell me no different.
So
Because you have a gun, so the minute he gets shot, you shoot back. Even if you get shot in the process, it should have been a gunfight. It's stuff like that. It doesn't make the movie bad, but it's just like everybody in this movie gets what they fucking deserve.
right, because we all knew that Steve was gonna die because, sir, you're wearing like a play school cop uniform because there's no way you graduated police academy.
Are
We
you
all
a
knew.
cop, or is it Halloween and you're just dressed as a cop?
Right. I would believe it more if he was like, oh no, I'm just kidding. This is a costume. This gun isn't even real. I would believe that more than you just stood there. Because I know that, like, realistically, they would, I feel like they probably would have heard a shot from in the house too, right? Like, so
Right.
Lieutenant Wydell gets shot. You would hear a shot ring out because they're very loud. You just watched this elderly man gunned down. You deserve what was coming to you. So finally, Steve gets alone. Otis is like, drop your weapon. He's like, yes, sir. Drops it. Otis tells him to get down on his knees. So at this point, this whole scene is running in slow-mo. Okay, so we have the very cheery music. The scene is running in slow-mo, which is another thing that Rob Zombie likes to do. And Otis has Steve on his knees, gun to his head. The movie goes silent for 26 whole seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you watch the movie, it's a long time. And you're just kind of waiting. And then the shot rings out. Steve gets shot in the head and he dies. And you could tell that Rob Zombie had a lot of fun with this scene.
He was feeling himself.
He was. It's all, I mean, like, he really, I can tell that he was like giggling like a schoolgirl when he was like filming this.
He was in that bitch like, I'm about to fuck the game up. This all up. I'm about to fuck the
This is
game
gonna be
up with
great.
this shit.
And it is a fun scene, right? Despite all of its flaws, which there are, like logical flaws. It's fun.
There's also a part of it that we didn't talk about where he cuts to I guess Christmas, and he's showing Denise's father during Christmas time buying gifts or opening gifts or shit, like always kind of like reminiscent of when we discovered Annie's body in Halloween 2009, and he's like pictures of her holding a puppy or something. It's kind of like he does that here. And it's just as weird.
Right. And you see it, it's like Denise and I guess like it's like photo like him and Denise like as a kid, like
yeah.
they look happy, and I guess it's to drive home like they just murdered an innocent person. We didn't need it. I don't care. I still don't care. I didn't care before, I don't care now. Don's dead. I wish he hadn't been in the film at all. But whatever. So cut to that night. It is now Halloween night. And Baby and RJ go to this place, Red Hot Pussy Lickers. I love that name. I think it's great.
My shit.
We get some very colorful dialogue exchanged with Baby and the store clerk G. Ober or Goober, which I love. They didn't have to put that in there, but I actually really like this scene. And Baby and RJ are just buying a whole mess of alcohol, just a bunch of alcohol for this Halloween night because they take this shit seriously. Despite being a murderer, Baby is like super generous, and she pays for the alcohol, which is like very expensive, and she gives Cooper a tip. And I thought that was really nice, and that's why we're rooting for her.
It's just it's very, I guess it's very reminiscent of, have you ever seen like Clerks?
Mm-hmm.
And Clerks 2, and it's just like a bunch of sometimes it's just like, let's insert this Jay and Silent Bob off scene.
Right.
That's what it felt like. It just seemed like, okay, why are they buying liquor?
It was like a cute little aside scene.
Do you like it because it's kind of like a break from the cartoon villainry.
Yes.
Like it's kind of like, okay, now let's go back to that. You know what? As I'm talking to you about it, it kind of gives you back to that beginning of the movie where you with Captain Spaulding, and it's just like they're somewhere and they're talking and they're just like having
just regular dialogue.
That's still kind of raunchy, but it's also not, you know. I don't think I like Otis. That's why I'm.
Okay, yeah, because so it's like we see Baby, and Baby is really crazy, and she's out there, and she's a murderer, and she like tortures people. But in like scenes like this, she's like mad normal, right? Like she just like buying alcohol. She's like kind of flirty, kind of making fun of this guy. It's just like a really normal scene, and you see her being really normal, and I kind of like that.
And with Captain Spaulding, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna say something dirty to you, but let me go ahead and drop this chicken for you, or let me I'm gonna draw this map. Where it's like you see Otis and you don't want to be around him immediately.
There's nothing. I guess it's because there's nothing relatable about Otis, right? Like we can like with Captain Spaulding, we're like, damn, he's like kind of crazy. He's off the rails. Like he just killed these two guys, but he's like, that I got blood all over my outfit. Now I got to change, and I'm irritated. And we're like, I know how that feels. I hate having to do an outfit change, Or like Baby is just like out, and she's just like buying alcohol because it's like it's Halloween and we're trying to get fucked up. And you're like, I know how that feels. I get fucked up on Halloween too.
I know what it's like when somebody pushes me. I got put my fucking blade out real quick.
Come up quick with the blade because this bitch has it coming. We relate to that. There's nothing relatable about Otis. He's just crazy.
And he's like, and it's kind of like bleeding into the second one because there's a scene that's very telling of him, and how unfucking fun he is. And I think if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm just as we're talking about it now, I just really find Otis kind of just not a character worth following.
Like, I agree.
If I had to pick somebody in the movie who like, because I wonder what it would have been like if Otis would have been the one to bite it in the beginning of the second movie or at the end of this movie, and we would have followed Rufus, who could have also been a violent hitchman, but seems to be, at least he wouldn't fucking talk. Or what would it have been like to keep the crazy mom alive? Or what if we would have had the grandpa? I'm just thinking from when you said earlier, like these were the popular characters. I feel like Baby and Captain Spaulding earned their popularity, and they was just like, this was like, I like Bill Moseley.
Okay,
and that's that.
So you have to think about it like we like Captain Spaulding and we like Baby because they're relatable to us in some way.
Who the fuck is relating to Otis?
Unfortunately,
come on, bring it to me then.
Because unfortunately, it's not like, okay, we don't know, as far as we know,
we got people that are like,
well, no, right? We don't know people that kill people and like torture people, but I do know people like Otis, right? Just people that are really fucking insufferable. Like if they're invited to a party, if we are out, if you bring up a topic, they're gonna go like off the rail. It like some like fucking like anti-vaxxers or like really like staunch conservatives. It's just people that personality type. We know those people, right? I feel like his personality type is relatable to some people. People liked him. That's why Rob Zombie took him to the finale of the trilogy. Like, people relate to him in some way. It's crazy to us, but like, does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess it's just I think about just like how deplorable he is with the killing and the wearing the people's skins and the having sex with the dead bodies.
Yeah, we have to get to that. Yeah, we do have to get to that part. Okay, so we get some shots at this point because they're preparing to have a Halloween party, which is understandable. Otis is making his Halloween costume. Okay. Now, Otis's Halloween costume, which I wonder what he was going to wear if this hadn't come about. He skins Denise's father, Don. He cuts off his face and the body portion, chest portion. He sews it together and makes a really convincing mask with his face. And he dons it. And this is going to be his Halloween costume because the Fireflies take Halloween very seriously. So we see the party that they're having, and Jerry, Mary, and Denise are chained up. They've put them in bunny costumes because if you're coming to a Halloween party, you better wear a costume. Just like if you're coming to a toga party, you better be in a fucking toga.
If you come to a toga party, you have your fucking toga.
What do you think this is? I wasn't joking. Did you not read the invite? Stupid ass. So they're wearing their bunny costumes. So Otis comes down and he's wearing Don's skinned face, and Denise is understandably upset by this. And Otis announces to Jerry that he wanted to meet Dr. Satan, so they're going to let him meet Dr. Satan. And this is where the movie takes a complete tonal shift. Like, it gets very different now. They have this scene, and I thought that it was like a pretty like fun shot scene. So it's the family walking across this big open field. It's a nighttime. They're in their Halloween costumes. They're like carrying torches. There's like fog and stuff. And they have their prisoners in tow, and they're taking them to like this abandoned well. While they're being taken to the abandoned well, Mary breaks free because she sees that they're trying to put them in like this coffin that they're going to lower down into this like old, dank, abandoned, like underground well. So she starts running away, and Baby has been praying. When you hear people say, I wish a motherfucker would, that's Baby this whole movie. She couldn't wait. As soon as Mary breaks free, Baby's like, let me get this bitch. So she chases Mary across this field. Mary comes to a graveyard. Baby catches Mary. And
why does Mary stop?
Why does she stop running? You just came across a fucking graveyard. Like, bitch, at this point, after everything that you've seen, it could have been literal bodies on the ground, and I would have been high stepping it over them. Like, you're gonna die. Why did you stop running? I don't understand that. And this is another reason that it's like I can't really feel bad for Mary, because this was a stupid decision.
Right.
I mean, only one of them is chasing you, and it's Baby. And like, presumably y'all could like maybe get into a fight. Like, you might be able to take her if she catches you. But you don't. You just stand there like a fucking idiot. And of course, Baby catches her, knocks her to the ground, and just stabs her to death.
While quoting a very obscure, a very strange, and just odd, like
children's
story. And I was just like, what the fuck? I didn't know what that meant when I watched it the first time. I had to just look up "shoo" said to make, and it popped up, and I was just like, why the fuck?
Because it's about bunnies, right? So she's like, "Shoo" said the maiden, and it's like the rabbit because she's a bunny, because Mary's a bunny.
It was very random. I understand it now, but I still just feel like, okay.
And I guess it's supposed to add like another layer of like depravity to it, right? Because she's like quoting this like really innocent thing. We do have to like, I feel like we have to acknowledge like Sherry Moon Zombie, for this being her first film, she really did put in a good performance. Like, for this film, she acted her ass off, right?
And I feel like she got stifled by the editing, and then just the script itself.
I feel okay. So that's what we were talking about this earlier. I don't have the exact numbers, but like the movie came out to like I think 93 minutes. It was originally, I think it was something like 143 minutes or like something like that. Like it just had more to it. There was like a lot of the film that got cut out. So they cut out the Dr. Satan stuff with the grandpa, which that would have been cool, I think, to get more of that storyline. Because I feel like the way they incorporated Dr. Satan, I didn't like that. But another big part, they said specifically a lot of what they cut out was Sherry Moon Zombie stuff. And I think that he probably let her kind of just like do her thing, you know? But I think that it was too much. Like, I think they weren't going to be able to get the movie out. Like, I think the Motion Picture Association was going to maybe rate it like NC-17, and then it wouldn't have ever gotten like a real theatrical release. And it wouldn't have gone anywhere, right? So they had to like cut a lot out. Like, I think he probably did give her the opportunity to like, I guess, quote unquote, shine, but had to like cut it out because it was too much.
Yeah. I really just feel like the setting and the reveal of the killers just really takes away from her being as, coming across just kind of random, very creepy, and the building up of just how like fucked in the head she was.
I almost like I would have liked to see, because I really do like, like we gave her a lot of shit for Halloween 2, which was deserved. And that's not her fault. He can't have a movie without her. So it's
and
like
not that he can't move her out. It's just in that Halloween movie, he wrote her such a bizarre character.
It could have gone so many different ways. But I really like Sherry Moon Zombie as Baby. I really like her as this character. I think she does a really good job, and I think that she's like a really good actress in this type of role. I think that
she's good in Lords of Salem as well, and 31. I think she's great.
It's not her acting.
It's Halloween fucking 2.
It's that movie.
Horse. It's that fucking horse.
It's that fucking dress. It's just
that dress and that fucking horse. I swear.
It's too much. So we gave her a lot of shit, but I am a Sherry Moon Zombie in Rob Zombie film fan, and she really kind of only does his movies, and I think that he writes her well. I think that they work well together, and I would have been I'm like curious to see like if Otis hadn't been in this movie. I wonder like how that would have been. You know what I mean? Like if she would have been able to like take a lead, because it really is kind of comes down between the two of them are really like the ones that are doing the killing, right? But you don't really get to see her do any real killing. And so I'd be curious to know if she just like led this film, what would it have been like if it was her and the other family members?
Right. If he took a backseat.
Right. I think that would have been interesting. But so getting back to the movie, so Denise and Jerry are left over, and they're lowered into this coffin, into this wet abandoned well. So the Firefly family then lowers a tape recorder into the well, which is, I looked it up. So the audio being played on the tape, it's a clip from the Satanist Aleister Crowley. And he's saying like, bury me in a nameless grave. It's a line from his 1920s poem, The Poet. So they start playing this, and this awakens some like dirty cave dwellers that come.
Just what the fuck was that?
It's very random. Everything about this scene, everything from here on out of the movie is extremely random. So these dirty cave dwellers, I guess, okay, we'll get to it. So they break through the coffin and they pull Jerry away. They leave Denise. So she's just left alone. So then she stumbles upon a corridor. It's lined with some very dead, cobweb-covered bodies. She enters a room where we see that a very old Dr. Satan is then operating on Jerry, who is very close to dying. His chest, stomach is all open. His head is all peeled. So he's going through it. Poor Jerry. So then this prompts Dr. Satan, who has a very, very bizarre design.
He looks like, and I don't care if you don't agree with me, he looks like the Crypt Keeper with a roach face.
I'll take that. I can't think of a better description than that. So great. Thank you for giving everybody the visuals. Yes. It's very bizarre. Like, and they're all wearing like masks, like breathing apparatuses. Like, I don't know. It's like I guess because they live underground. Like, I don't know. So he calls Dr. Satan's large, like, mutilated henchman the professor. I saw people calling him. He's disgusting. He's just really fucking gross.
Do you think that in the original script it was Grandpa and Tiny?
I don't know. I would be very curious to know that. I think that it would have, I don't want to say that it would have made more sense with the script the way that it was, but I think that had just little things been tweaked, it would have in a way made more sense that it was Grandpa, right? Like,
because Grandpa is this funny character who's just like, eat your mommy pussy. Eat your mom pussy. But then to find out the grand reveal is that
he's
Grandpa,
the worst one of them all.
Because Grandpa is the best killer among us. Just like in Texas Chainsaw, you know?
Right. And he would be like the leader of the clan, right? Like he's the clan. I really do wonder why he cut that, because I think they had the scenes filmed and they cut it. I would have liked to have seen that more. So Dr. Satan's henchman, the professor, so he starts chasing Denise through this underground maze. Yes. And these are the kind of scenes where you can see that this would have been like a haunted maze, like an attraction at a theme park. It gives that kind of feel. Yes. And we scary. Also, like, it's cutting in and out from like this chase of Denise with the professor to like, for some reason they built a funeral pyre for Mary's body and they have a funeral for her.
They're just bored.
He just put that in there.
At this point, like, it's just like, y'all motherfuckers in here just bored. Y'all need jobs.
What do they do you think? Because the alcohol, I think, came up to like, it was like either $130.
You steal the money from the people. You steal their money. You sell parts of their cars, I guess. You know, yeah. It's the 70s, so, you know, a lot of money is like that. All alcohol, like $30.
The alcohol, remember, it came up to like $100 and something.
In today's money, she bought like $1,000 of fucking alcohol.
I mean, it's crazy. Like and then she was just like, "That's okay, keep the change." And I was like, "Damn, that's expensive as hell in 1977. That's a lot of alcohol." My God.
That's because she stole that money.
So after chasing,
it was like $600 worth of alcohol.
Yeah, just for tonight. I guess they were like, "We deserve this. We've been working hard."
We had to deal with the worst fucking people.
I know baby was tired of Mary. She probably needed those drinks just to be able to fucking stand keeping her alive any longer. So after this chase through the tunnel, Dr. Satan's henchman, the professor, he is foiled when he takes a swing with the axe at Denise, and he ends up knocking down like a support beam in this like underground maze, and it falls on him and it kills him. So then Denise uses this collapsed materials to climb up out of the ground. She's walking up the road and she's in a state. She flags down Captain Spaulding, who pulls over and picks her up. And it was so well done, I think, because we love Captain Spaulding. He has this great museum, great dialogue. He gives you free chicken with your gas. I mean, he's just an everyman, right? Like, we love this guy.
We love him.
He tells her to lay back. Everything's going to be okay. He's going to get her to the hospital because she is fucked up. Well, little does she know that Otis is in the back and he pops up out of the back seat with a knife. Next thing we cut to, it's her waking up and she is tied down to an operating table and she is being operated on by Dr. Satan. And so she has been caught and she will die. And then the movie, that's the end.
The end with a question mark.
Is it the end? No, it's not, because this is a trilogy. So we get a lot more of this family. And so, fun facts. So Rotten Tomatoes has a 21% critic score, but a 65% audience score. And I'm not surprised by that because it is like a cult classic at this point. So the IMDb, it's a 6.0 out of 10 with 90,000 reviews, which is not bad at all. So Rob Zombie, like we said earlier, so in an interview, he said, and I quote, "The first film I directed, which people seem to love, is just a calamitous mess. And that when he looks at it, quote, all I see is flaw upon flaw upon flaw upon flaw." And I agree with him. But for some reason, I really like this movie. I think it is a hit, in my opinion. What do you think? It's time to make a decision. Hit or miss.
I think that it is a hit. I think that it's not supposed to be as critically acclaimed or as smart and as clever as we would like it to be. I think it's supposed to be a mess. I think it's supposed to just be fun and kind of gross and just gory. And for what it's worth, with him saying that, Rob Zombie saying that, flaw at the flaw, there may be flaw at the flaw at the flaw, but like when it hits, this bitch hits.
Yes.
There's, bar none, nobody can say shit about those sets. Nobody, because I could smell how bad that house smelled just looking at it. There's nothing someone can say about the performances of the actors.
I agree.
Everybody
all of them, really everybody.
Play their characters very well. There's nobody who's just really like, failing. If there's any real complaint, it's just really just some of the cinema choices. Just if he wouldn't have spoiled to us as audience how much danger they were really in and where those cheerleaders were, it really could have been a very, very, very like just top tier scary movie. But for what it is, I think everybody should definitely check it out at least once. Like we've said before, it's a trilogy, so the second one isn't so much of a sequel as just like a follow up, and it you wanna see it so that you can understand some of the lore in the second one.
And I think too that like you see this one, and I was reading that he felt very similarly to us, that the characters and tone of this movie were like, he felt like they were too cartoonish and too silly, which is true. That is true. If you watch this one and compare it to Devil's Rejects, it's totally different. Like, it really is a different movie, but that's kind of to be expected because I don't think that Rob Zombie, he didn't go into this being like, I'm making a movie, right? Like, he was just tasked with making a haunted house, and it feels like that because haunted houses are like random, right? You go in, there's like jump scares, people popping out. It's like stuff that you see that scares you. Like the Dr. Satan stuff looks like something that would be in like a haunted house. And so if you think about it like that, once Universal was like, hey, do you want to make a movie? He was probably so fucking excited. And he probably had so many thoughts, so much that he just wanted to like get out, you know? And I think that that's why the first time he shot it, it was like almost like double the length, because he probably just poured out everything. Yeah, because I'm sure at the time, you know, like he was a musician, like he had input in like his music videos. I think he worked on like Pee Wee's Playhouse, like he had experience in like production stuff. But like when you are being told by Universal, which is huge, like, hey, we're gonna like help fund this movie for you, I'm sure he was so excited. Like I can't even imagine. So it's a lot, and I think despite its flaws, which it does have flaws, I think for a first movie by someone as creative as he is,
It's
I think
so creative, and you can just tell that he's such a fan of
yes,
horror movies. He's a fan of media. He understands what it means to really give people a show. And yeah, I think that you are on the nose with it. It's just like, when's the next time, you know, I'm going to get a chance to do a movie by a big ass studio? So I'm
right.
going to throw everything in this bitch, you know?
Yes, all the visions that I've had, I'm just going to put it in one big movie, and I'm just going to make it a spectacle. And people might like it or they might not, but I made this movie. And then it was like not popular, like it wasn't critically um a success, but like the people liked it. That's why the Rotten Tomato scores like varies so much. And so I'm sure that he was like, once he saw it and he got it out of the system, you know, like I made this movie, he got all these like thoughts out, then I feel like he kind of sat down and really like actually tried to maybe like more write a screenplay for Devil's Rejects. And it shows, and it's like they're different, but you do have to see House of a Thousand Corpses to get,
Yeah.
you know, to get Devil's Rejects.
To
They're
get it.
different, but
Yeah. And I think that if there are people who, I know the popular opinion is like the Devil Rejects more than this one, but I feel like there's a strong case that this one is more fun.
it is fun. I agree.
It's more fun. It's a more fun movie, so you don't have to be, you know, as nihilistic or there's not so much dread, because there are more funny Captain Spaulding scenes, and they are just these obscure references that Baby makes, and you know, you really can't talk too much about Grandpa eating your mommy's pussy. So
Yeah. I feel like he let the actors really be themselves, really
oh
shine.
yeah,
Everybody gave outstanding performances. And I think that too is a big part of the reason that the movie is popular, because I think if Sherry Moon Zombie, I think she was going to be in it regardless, right? Like I think he's going to put her in his movies, but it just so happens that she is like the perfect person for
for
this
this role.
role. Right. And so I just think that that is another reason that people really like it, because people like really gravitated towards them, which he wanted. And I think for a first movie, I think he did a really good job.
Yeah, just I just think that he's a really really creative guy, and even for content, movies or music that he makes, that you know it's kind of like whatever. It's still just like you can tell he's not phoning it in. It's never just a fuck it,
Absolutely.
you
Yes.
know.
You can tell he really cares about his craft.
It's craft, yeah. I definitely I definitely enjoyed talking about it, you know.
Me too.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that is perfect way to end this episode.
So Bye.
All right, bye.